Here now is Representative Michael Burgess, Republican from Texas and a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
Let me just play a clip. This is BP CEO Bob Dudley. We just got this clip, and I want to run it for a second.
Thank you.
Nearly 40% of the shareholders of BP are in the U.S., and we always operate for what we think is in the interest of both our shareholders, our employees, and the countries where we operate. And I think BP is a huge contributor to the U.S. economy. And I think very much the success of BP is in the interest of the United States.
All right, Congressman Burgess, you heard that. Do you buy that? Do you have an objection to this Rosneft BP deal?
Well, certainly from the standpoint of the United States Congress, if a foreign oil company wants to deal with another foreign country, we don't have any control over that. But what we do have control over are the national security implications of investments in American companies, and BP American is an American company. Further, we have an interest in the integrity of the Alaska oil pipeline, and if you recall, just a few months ago, BP was spending a lot of time under the harsh lights in our subcommittee on energy and commerce because of the problems they had with Deepwater Horizon. So, yeah, there are various different levels where this deserves some analysis and some scrutiny. Of course, on the global perspective, of course, BP can enter into an agreement with Russia. That's something over which we really have no control.
It isn't the bigger problem.
The pipeline is.
Let me ask you about this.
Yeah.
Let me focus on BP because I don't really get this. BP makes a decision to go in and partners with this Russian company. Okay, that's a financial decision. That's a BP decision. Whatever. Regarding the Alaskan pipeline, BP is pulling out. And we're not replacing it with any new drilling up there. And by most estimates, between ANWR and the various Arctic wildlife issues, there could be 50 billion barrels of oil. To me, if BP's pulling out, the U.S. government looks like it's still waging war against BP and the whole U.S. oil and drilling industry. That's the problem, not what the Russians do.
Well, I think you can dissect out the BP part from that equation because, correct, there is American energy under the North Slope that needs to be developed. The Alaska pipeline is not carrying the volume of oil that it needs to carry in order to even maintain integrity and maintain profitability. That needs to change. And whether it's BP that develops that resource or some other company, I think that's kind of immaterial in this discussion. That needs to happen. There's no question with the current financial state of our country. Those are resources that need to be developed, and that's revenue that needs to be coming into the revenue stream, and those are American jobs that need to be created. All of that is true. The national security implications of BP America now being involved with the Russian company, that does require scrutiny by the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS. Remember the Dubai Ports World flat from a few years ago. It needs at least someone to look at that. BP is one of the big suppliers to our military. Are there national security implications to this deal?
I always argued the biggest problem I have with BP, I mean, obviously the huge mistakes they made, but putting the Gulf spill aside, the biggest problem I have with BP's international operations is all the talk and rumors that they're doing a lot of oil trading with Iran. And that violates all of our national security principles. They are trading with the enemy. And BP is one of the few oil companies that still does that. I mean, let me ask you this, Congressman. If ExxonMobil went into partnership with a Russian oil company, would you care?
Oh, obviously, I'd be interested in what the parameters were. Exxon is one of course, this country's major oil producers. They're located close to my district down in North Texas. I think there would be a lot of interest in that. But again, it would depend upon the parameters. I don't know that there should be any less analysis from a national security perspective on that from that standpoint. But look, BP, again, they've been in front of our committee a couple of times. They've had serious safety violations, both in the Gulf of Mexico and the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. They told us in 2006, hey, we've gone to a culture of safety in our company, but you couldn't tell that by the testimony we got during the Deepwater Horizon investigation.
I don't want to replay that. I understand that fully. It's the Russian thing that we're looking at tonight. Let me go. Right. Look, hang on, Congressman.
Sure.
We finally got hold of John Hoffmeister. We're going to take him by phone. phone. John's a former president and CEO of U.S. operations for Shell Oil Company. He's currently with Citizens for Affordable Energy. John, welcome. Do you have any problem with BP going partners with Rosneft in Russia?
Not a bit. It's typical in the industry to have international shareholdings, international deals. You know, the big problem here, Larry, is we are doing everything in this country to stop developing our Arctic. Rosneft and BP are going to develop the Arctic. If there's a national security threat, it is the fact that we are becoming energy insecure while the rest of the world is becoming energy secure. A 5% shareholding is not a management oversight responsibility. It's just a shareholding. So BP continues to be run by its board, by Bob Dudley, an American, by the way, and it's just a normal, natural business. In fact, they have really drawn a line under the Gulf of Mexico in order to go and say to the world, we're going to the Arctic.
Well, that's the thing. I was talking to this Congressman Michael Burgess, who's also our guest here in this segment. But, John, you're talking about $5 a gallon gasoline at the pump. And I'm going to presume that one reason, or how you get there, is that the U.S. government and regulatory authorities and the EPA and everybody, and including this Gulf Oil Report, is waging war against the drilling and development and production of new oil. Is that what you're saying?
You're absolutely right. We're going to use 20 million barrels a day in this country regardless. That's how much we use. We're producing 7. The regulatory environment is taking us to 6. We used to produce 10. Why don't we produce 10 million barrels and create 3 million jobs in this country, and Congress get off their seat and do something to both create jobs and to produce more oil so this energy is secure?
See, Congressman Burgess, to me, this is the absolute key point. And I want to ask you now, you're with the Republican majority in the House. You can do a lot of work. You're on the right committees. Can you fight the regulatory assault coming out of the current administration that is stopping drilling and production and, frankly, is leading us to higher and higher gasoline prices? Can you fight it, Michael?
Well, we have been fighting it, and certainly the Obama administration's moratorium in the Gulf has been one of the big fights we've had in the committee, and now that we have more numbers on our side, perhaps we can affect that positively. Clearly, there's a big fight in my home state of Texas over the flexible permitting and the EPA's involvement, where it has never been before. State regulatory agencies should be responsible for that, and the EPA is asserting authority where it has none. So, yeah, those are big issues. I don't think there's any difference of opinion between Mr. Hoffmeister and myself about developing the Arctic petroleum reserves. I think we should be doing that. But look, we do have a responsibility that ultimately the public's interests are protected, and that is the responsibility of my committee, and I think we should take that seriously. That's
If China were just real fast, we run out of time, but I want to ask this. I'm mischief-making, but I'm serious, too, because of the China visit next week by President Hu. If China were partnering with an American oil company, would you investigate that?
Well, I think you actually saw that when there was an attempt in the Bush administration for China to take over a big part of the oil production off Southern California. You know, look, China and Russia are in a big, there is an energy war going on between the two of those countries. We're kind of on the sidelines in that. No argument with developing our own resources. No argument with developing American energy and American jobs. We need to do that. BP, unfortunately, has not been a great player either on the oil pipeline in Alaska and in the Gulf of Mexico. We've had some serious problems there. I think it deserves a little bit of scrutiny.
All right, you got it. Congressman Michael Burgess, we appreciate it very much. And John Hoffmeister, thank you very much.